What do you read with your young reader? They're finished with these, and now they're ready to move in to chapter books. But what do you pick? This video, I'll give you some of my recommendations and the reason why I've picked the books that I picked. So that'll help you pick other great books. Okay, so one of the things I look at when I'm looking for really good quality young chapter books is large font size, lots of pictures. If color is an option, I absolutely will choose color books because they bring in the reader and they help them feel really comfortable and relaxed. Black and white kind of throws them. They feel that's a little abstract for them and they tend to get distracted by it. But I will still use black and white photos or images because that's still really helpful for their reading context clues. So some of my books that are my favorites. Got a big stack here. Heidi Hackelbeck. I absolutely love Heidi Hackelbeck. There are negative reviews about the book out there because she hates school. I'm sorry, but she's a kid who's going from one situation to another. In this case, she's going from homeschooling to public schooling, and she is in the second grade. So her life has really essentially been turned upside down, and she's not ready for it. So right now she hates school, but that's in 1.5 books. And yes, she uses the word I hate school, but this is a great opportunity for you to talk about these emotions, the rainbow of emotions we all feel, and really hone in on those types of things because this is so important for them to navigate their emotions, to manage their emotions, and to check themselves when they're outside of home with their emotions. You have to have that dialogue first and you have to teach them that. And literature is a great way to learn because you can learn through other characters and then relate your own experiences to your child so that they can and talk about their experiences. And this is when you get them to open up and tell you stories about things that have happened at school, be it kindergarten or first grade or even at preschool. They'll share things that you had no idea about because a character is experiencing it. So I find that negativity a valuable opportunity. But large font, large pictures, really inviting, and even a smattering of pictures mixed through the text makes the flow so much more interesting and less overwhelming. It's playful. So you really want to have something like that where the dialogue is important and there's humor and reality in there. It's relatable, but also that you've got really great playful images. Love this. So Heidi Heckelbeck, one of my recommendations, top recommendations for young readers, first, second grade. You could go into third grade with that as well, depending on if you have a reluctant reader, because a reluctant reader will be able to read this book probably in a day and feel so good about themselves because they read an entire book. So don't look at the qualifications. Don't look at, oh, they should be reading this or they should be reading that. If they're completing a book and they're boosting their confidence and their reading ability, that's all that matters. I remember that problem when I was young and I was reading books and I was told that I was supposed to be reading chapter books, and I made a goal to read the entire library. I was, a small library. It wasn't a really big one. And so obviously I first started with children's section. I was just going to read. First, it was actually a whole aisle. I was going to read this whole aisle, and it started with the mythology aisle, and because I loved mythology then. And then, I stretched into the chapter books, and because that's age appropriate, I should read that. And then I was just like, I got through all of those, and I'm like, what do I read next? And I saw that section where the little kids are, the kids I would babysit sometimes, do the mommy helper thing, and I was just like, I really want to read those because they have really cool pictures, and I'm also really into art. So it's just like, I really want to. And I finally just was like, I'm not listening to anybody. I'm just going to read him. And I loved him. And this is probably what inspired me to want to become a writer as well. So don't make anything off limits. Princess in Black. So, the funny thing is she is a princess and wears black all the time. I have a student that I thought she would still reject it just because the character was a princess, you know, because she definitely was the anti-pink kid, anti-purple, but I kind of was getting the vibe that even a princess wouldn't cut it. But she really enjoyed this, and I think she just because the silly monsters, she really, really loved them. So again, this one has great, wonderful, entertaining art. We have the bit of art also around here that brings them in. It's that playfulness. And then text font is large again, so that makes it really useful. Pictures are quite frequent. I don't think you can go a page without a picture. Yeah, no. Every page has a picture, which makes it great. And then, you know, there's comics and graphic novels are a thing. Um, so they give you a little pop of that feel, which is really helpful because then they feel like they're like the other big kids who are reading those types of things. So that's a really important one. I love Zoe and Sassafras. Now, Zoe and Sassafras, I would say, would be more second, third, fourth grade. So fourth grade, you reluctant reader or challenged reader. Second and third grade on level. Great because they have science vocabulary, it's STEM based. There's not a lot of character interaction outside of the family, so it's all about her experiences with essentially being a magical vet, and her family. So I love it because it brings in the science stuff. She goes through like hypothesis and all of those kind of great things, and journaling and tracking, and testing, experimenting. So it's a really great book to get your kiddos interested in science and building a natural science vocabulary instead of drilling them with words. Um, Another good second, third grade book series would be Major Eights, which is musically based, which makes it really fun. So the characters all play a musical instrument of some sort, and they also have, you know, their science, they get active in sports, and then there's two of them that have contests. I like them again. Now, the font has gone a little bit down, not too much smaller, but we do have more words on a page. This is why it's more appropriate for a second or a third grader. But we do, again, have pictures on pretty much every page and lots of just fun whimsy with like the head of the chapters. So I really do love this series quite a bit. They're just really, again, very relatable. We're dealing with the interaction, social interaction, and the emotions of friendships and things like that. So great book. I love also another bind up, yes. So we've got 4 titles in one. I love bind ups for my own bookshelf, but for kiddos, I do recommend you do single books because they're less overwhelmed. When they see this, they freak out. They really do. I can't read that. That's too big. Alien Next Door again is navigating Earth and its cultures and the way humans interact and the food they eat and their celebrations and all that. So it's a really fun book because it comes from this different perspective. Plus, it's aliens. Now we have an alien boy and a human boy and the human boy's best friend who's a girl. So this book is great because we have the great opportunity of all genders feeling comfortable reading it. Sometimes boys like to read books about boys and girls like to read books about girls, and some kids just cross over without any problem. Um, it's again about where they're at in their life as far as their relatability, how comfortability they feel connecting with more girl or soft vocabulary, more of the social stuff versus the going camping thing. Now, there is a book series I have here somewhere that they do go camping. Oh, I think it's Heidi Hecklebeck. Oh, and Humphrey Tiny Tales, which is the offshoot of the original book series, Humphrey, The World According to Humphrey. So you'll see again, large font. This is definitely for second grade, third grade challenge reader. We have lots of great imagery as well. So it, again, every page has artwork on it. So, and then again, it's splattered in between, so it makes the text more interesting to read and keeps you going. Great stories, lots of good humor in there, um, and great lessons. Definitely some great lessons in here, like the one character cheating for Halloween for the costume contest. I also love My Furry Foster Family. Now, this is a really new book series, and it does come in full color. So it is really nice. Now, this one, you definitely want to have more second, third grade. You want a little bit older readers because, as you can see, some pages do not have pictures on them. There we go. So we have a 2-page spread with no pictures. So this is a reader who's a little bit more advanced and isn't going to get frustrated, but they're going to still really love seeing these full color pictures. I also love on this particular book series the Think About It and the glossary. So there's a Think About section, a glossary, and then there are some bonus parts about the furry foster family and the author and who the author was inspired by to write this book series. And there's Q&As, so you get to hear someone else's opinion. That's probably the thing I really love most about this book series is that it's opinion. There's opinion-based questions in the back. And that is something that children are not used to sharing. They're used to sharing their right answer or their wrong answer, but there is only going to be one or the other, and they don't know that opinion is an acceptable answer to some types of questions. So getting into that is really important, and that's what I love about this book series as well. Another favorite box set, and I think this was like $15 on Amazon. So the Craftily Ever After. So you have 3 girls and 1 boy who are creative friends, and they kind of remodel a shed and turn it into their craft clubhouse. And again, it is negotiating the issues of friendship through all of the different challenges. One of the characters is new to the school, and the other character feels sad because now her best friend is paying more attention to the new girl. Not that it really happened, but that's the way she sees it. So great opportunities there to talk again about navigating the social issues that come up at school. But I also love the way they handle challenges at home where the character does something wrong at home and how they own up to the situation and how the family handles those situations. So I like that as well. Bonus on these, they also include one craft project at the end of the story inspired from the book. So you get to make whatever's happening in the book. So as you can tell, this one has the balloon-powered race car. So we are going to be doing something with machines in this book, which is really awesome. Again, large font, lots of images all throughout. You can see they're tucked into the page so that the text isn't too overwhelming. Great storyline, a little bit of humor, not quite as funny as Alien Next Door, but it still has some really good opportunities there. For your really young chapter book readers, going with something like Billy B. Brown, which is a little bit more of an expensive series because you have to get these from a consultant, but it's a really good book series. First, they're really short, which is great. I believe this is 4 chapters. 4 or 6? Yeah, 4. They're a little different than the Junie B. Jones and the other series that are similar title because they're a little nicer, we'll say. The children behave a little better. They don't talk back. So those kind of really good qualities there. But again, realistic, relatable context, really large font. So these are going to be quick to read, which is great. Lots of great images, again, to keep them entertained. When there isn't, there's little doodles at the top of the page, which also help at least keep them moving. They're feeling comfortable because there's something there. And then they also will accentuate certain words, which is great because that kind of helps you talk about those key elements. And I also love the labeling in the book. So I really do recommend this book series. It is worth the price if you have several children who are going to be moving up into the young chapter books. So, you know, if you've got your first grader and then you have, you know, maybe a 3-year-old at home, they'll be able to move into these books later. So this is if you want to create a personal library. I recommend this. I don't think you can find these in very many libraries around the United States, so that will be complicated. And there are some worksheets to go along with this online somewhere. The other really great young chapter books. Now, Nate the Great started off as just books and not chapter books, so they are a little bit longer. And they do have a break in them that feels like a chapter, but they are not, some of them are not chapter books, but some of them are. Let me find one that is. There we go. So you can see chapter 8. Text in these, the size, font size is pretty good. Lots of great images to keep them entertained. But what is really, really good about these books is that they are definitely on a first grade vocabulary level. So they're not too complicated to read. And that's something that none of these can say at all. So if you're not ready to, except for these definitely have similar vocabulary, but everybody else here does have normal vocabulary. They're not worried about keeping it at a certain grade level. They're keeping their font large, they're using less words on the page, and they're using lots of images to make it a successful read, but they're not keeping the text simplified. These do. So you could definitely go from reading these like Amelia Bedelia. I would go from the original Amelia Bedelias to these, which actually I did, or Frog and Toad behind me to these. That's what I would recommend. Really great stories, detective, so it's interesting. He's always trying to explore and understand the world. And the kids love guessing and predicting what's going to happen. And of course, they don't find out till the end. Bonus that they did, I don't know what year they reprinted these, but they added extra fun activity section in the back. So this is, again, when you're negotiating with your kiddos, not the whole book is going to be read because of all the activities. So they have crafts, they have more information about the subject matter that's happening in the story, jokes, recipes, just lots of great stuff. Detective talk, so we've got our glossary of detective vocabulary. I highly recommend Nate the Great. It's a really fun series, so I would go for that. And then for nonfiction right now, my favorite, and there's the I Survived, and there's crazy ones, but I think it's more enjoyable to jump into the National Geographic chapters because they are full color again, lots of great pictures. You see that the text is surrounded by more color, so it's not too much text. It doesn't look quite as overwhelming, which is really important. And again, it's factually based, which is also great, but the bonus is that they're all really interesting topics and they do them in a way that's still story-like. So I have Best Friends Forever, which is another awesome one, Whitewater. So we've got our sportier topic and getting out there and adventuring, and Dogs on a Bike. So all kinds of great dog stories. Of things that people have trained their dogs to do, and Rock Stars, again, another adventure book. We're out climbing in different locations. Again, it is National Geographic, so we get to talk about locations, but we also get to talk about facts of animals and things like that. So these are some of my recommendations. If you have questions or a book you would like to recommend that I review, please post it below. I would love to look at your list as well.